then I'm going to hand you these. We'll see what we're going to do.
Okay.
All right, you're welcome.
Okay, so, you ready? Okay, so first give us your full name.
Brian Hughes.
Is it the regular spelling?
No, Brian Hughes, H-E-W-S.
Oh boy, see what a goof.
Yeah.
You would have been mad.
Like news.
Yeah.
With the
And
H.
then give me your name. You're the publisher of. Can you tell me the publisher?
I'm the publisher of the Los Cerritos Community Newspaper Group.
And you've been very instrumental in breaking this story on the assessor. Tell me a little bit about that.
Would you like to know the whole story? Or?
No, just a little. Just don't tell me.
Okay. Yes, we broke the story back in February. We got some, we were put in contact with somebody from the office, and they gave us a lot of information, and we followed up on that information through a public records
Yeah,
request.
you want to just look at me, sorry.
Okay.
You look at me. Okay, so somebody gave you a tip and you followed up on it.
Exactly. And
Okay.
then we did a public records request and saw that this was a lot deeper than people were telling us.
And you must have just gone, gee, we're a relatively small newspaper. We're taking on the assessor with $1 trillion worth of property. You must have just either said, I'm going to hell in a handbasket, or you're going to go for it, or what was it?
It was a little scary in the beginning, and we did get some threatening emails from some companies. But damn the torpedoes, what I always say. As a publisher, you have the First Amendment rights. As long as you don't have a dog in the fight, they can't hold you for libel. So, and we had some good information. It was very factual, and facts don't lie. So.
And were you kind of shocked that the access that these property owners had to Noguez through these tax agents? You and I would not have that kind of access. So I just wanted you to talk about the
No, absolutely not, and that's what a lot of the emails were showing, is that Ramin Solari represented a lot of high-end properties, was actually emailing Noguez and his generals. And the emails sometimes got rather snippy as to what's going on with these properties and things like that. So it was like the rich have access to Noguez while the little guy didn't.
Right, and to amplify that a little more, I mean, the little guy just wouldn't even, as you pointed out before, there wouldn't be enough money for these tax agents, unless these are multi-million-dollar properties. These tax agents are getting a third or 50% of what they say.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Well, if somebody had $1 million home, the property taxes on that is at 1%. The property tax agent is not going to go after that, but if it's a $10 million home, he's going to go after that reduction, because he is getting, most of these contracts that we saw were 50% or more, where they would get the rebate. And once the rebate went through, the property owner would get the check, and then he'd cut it to the tax agent.
And then when you talk about access, I mean, these agents, in your opinion, why did these agents have particular Solari? But there were other agents in these emails.
Right.
What gave them the access that they had?
Well, I think it was a classic, this goes back to one of our first articles, it was a classic pay-to-play scenario, where Noguez had some very wealthy people donating money during his campaign, and it was several family members, it wasn't just one person. And then, from what we saw, those same people got access through Solari to Noguez and got the reductions that they were receiving.
In your opinion, what did Noguez get out of it? What did he get out of it?
Well, as probably my reporter who wrote this, Randy Economy, said, Noguez was probably angling for the LA County Supervisor seat. So he had aspirations to become a supervisor. So, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and when I run for supervisor, I'll have all these friends. And that's why we think he was doing these type of reductions.
And you're here in Cerritos, there's probably not one property you're represented by. Maybe there is some, but I guess, does this all make you mad?
Absolutely, and when we were first looking at this case, I was just wondering how much this gentleman was making. He had bragged he made $25,000 an hour at the height of all this.
This is Solari.
This is Solari, yeah. And that this gentleman has such access to this, to what we call the White House out in LA. It's the largest tax roll in the nation. So, and this gentleman and another gentleman that we're trying to get a hold of, his name is Jeff Lloyd. He did the same amount of reductions that Solari did in the same year. they had just had access to Nogu's and his generals. And it was just, the little guy was getting squished while the wealthy people were getting their tax breaks.
And these are emails, I'm just gonna hand you over these emails, you don't have to, you know, this, you can't go through them right now. These emails, you know, these are the emails, I'm just gonna hold them up and flip through them. I mean, these are the emails that sort of illustrate that kind of access.
Yeah, we had, this is the second set of emails that we requested. And you can see this is, it was 2,000 pages that we got. And the first set that we got showed a lot of access by Solari and the tax agents. And this one is just confirming it. And there's other tax agents that we found in here, smaller, that had the same access. They're just writing straight to Nogu's generals and to Nogu's himself. And it's just unprecedented, in our opinion. I mean, this is amazing. Look at all these emails. It's got tax people demanding checks, you know, and tax people saying, hey, we want to ram this guy's property through. What can you do for him? And it's going straight up to the Nogu's office.
And really, they should be dealing just on the low-level appraiser issue. If they have a problem, they appeal it like everyone else. They don't.
Exactly. They should be going to the lower level appraiser, and the low level appraiser gets it done. But the word got out about Solari and Lloyd having access to the office. And if you have big properties, they can get you access very quick.
And that again just says, look, if you're a little guy, it really is saying, don't try to get a reduction unless you pay a tax agent, unless you make a deal with the tax agent, and it's worthwhile for the tax agent. I think the average person didn't even know what a tax agent was.
Right, yeah.
Explain.
I had no idea what a tax agent was until we ran into this case. I didn't know you could do this. And the funny part was when Randy and I both got this Google alert once on Nogu's who did a tape and filmed a video with a local real estate agent. He actually brought him into his office and did a tape on how to reduce your property. And he let this real estate agent plug his company inside his office. And it was aimed at the larger reductions, even though the tax agent or the real estate agent was angling for the smaller properties.
Right, I mean, it just says everything about, it seems like though just for contributions, there was a lot for sale from Nogu's for just contributions. It seemed like, besides getting the supervisor, he seemed like kind of a penny-ante guy who just got sort of, I don't know what.
Mm-hmm.
You know, blown
Well, he came from
away.
Huntington Park. He's the mayor of Huntington Park, and then he was in the assessor's office for a few years, and he rose to power. And you know, just to see the $1 million campaign contribution he got, and the next closest guy got $50,000. Just to see that told you something right there. When our contact gave us that information, and we saw the size of that campaign book, we knew something was going on, and that's when we started investigating it.
And so what is your feeling about all this now? I mean, since you've done, wrote the story, where's all this going?
Well, it's been quite the ride, I tell you that. And it hasn't ended. We just got these emails again. It's showing a lot of stuff. It's just a classic pay-to-pay politician. He got all his money. He made it to the top. Took him 2 years to ruin everything, which is generally what happens in a company. And now he's paying for it. And I'm waiting for the audit that's occurring right now in the department.
Explain a little bit about that.
The supervisors ordered an audit, a financial audit, full audit of the department, which probably would cost $500,000 to $1 million to do so. And they wanted it done very quickly. And that's going to show where the checks were going. That's what they're looking for. They're probably forensic accountants going in there, and they're looking for money trails from Solari to Nogu's or Nogu's, you know, to his contributors. And that's going to be very interesting when that audit comes out. That should be any time, next couple of weeks.
Did you have any last words here?
No last words. It's been a great ride, and it just keeps going. And you know, I like that a little community newspaper like ours, with a staff of 5, got the chance to get a hold of this story and break it. And it just shows that you know, daily newspapers have fled a lot of communities, and there's basically no daily newspaper representing my area. And you know, I feel it's our duty to go after these kind of people and expose the corruption in public policy.
And I guess I've asked you the same question a zillion ways. I just use it, this is the one thing is you've got to have a tax agent if you want to get a reduction of 30% or more. Because we're really talking about a lot of these were 30% or more.
Right, yeah. A lot of them were 50% that we saw. And, you know, you're talking properties reduced from 10 to 5 million. That's impossible. I don't care how deep the recession is. You know, you might see a 10% or 20% reduction, but not, you know, like my house has gone down 20%. So you would think in other, and I'm in Orange County, so you think in other areas it's not as bad.
And then to access, this is so important, these emails show so much access.
Exactly, yeah.
Explain.
Well, the tax agents, there were certain tax agents that had been granted access, probably through some campaign contributions, wrestling up some campaign contributions for Novus, and they had unprecedented access. You can see in the emails that the emails are very, very. Some of them were snotty. Solari talking to some of Novus's generals and saying, "Where's this check? You know, why haven't we solved this problem yet? I appealed this a year ago. Where's the check?" And it just shows that, you know, the wealthy can get by and little guys can't.
Okay, good. Now we got to get a little bit of email.
I want to get a matching shot. We've got the papers in your hand, we're talking about them.